Erweiterung der Europäischen Union. Brauchen wir die? Macht es Sinn? Für welche Länder? Westbalkan? Mit welchen Regeln? Neuen Regeln? Strengeren Regeln? All das diskutiere ich heute bei einer Melange mit Tanja Fanon. Tanja, good afternoon. Nice that you are here in my TV series. And Tanja Fanon is member of the European Parliament from Slovenia. And you're also working very much on the enlargement and on the Western Balkans. So I'm happy that you're here. And I want to ask you, why do we need an enlargement of the European Union?
First of all, thank you, Andreas, for inviting me for your Melange. It's a very timely topic, discussing again the enlargement. Why do we need? If you look at the region of Western Balkan or Southeast Europe, as some prefer to call it, it's a region that has a lot of instabilities. Politically, economically, we have a big brain drain of young population, of young people, but this is a region that has always been part of Europe, and it will always be part of Europe. These are countries that together we can much better fight common challenges that we have of today when it comes to security, migration, energy, climate, and so on. So I'm strongly convinced, coming from Slovenia, that we need each other, but of course we have to go through the process that is very painful, that is very long-lasting, process of difficult reforms that will bring some sort of economic and political stability in the countries.
So, but one argument against the enlargement is especially the stability, that people say is an area with very low stability, still the tension between the countries and between the ethnic sometimes. Do you think the enlargement process can contribute, let's say, to establish more stability, more understanding also between these countries of the Balkans?
Absolutely. If you look to the enlargement on 10 Eastern European countries, Central Eastern, when Slovenia belonged to, we went through a difficult process of reforms, but we reached high European standards and values when it comes to economy, when it comes to fundamental rights, human rights, and so on. So I think for the countries of the Western Balkans, when we face high corruption, organized crimes, this reform will bring more stability in the region, and they will be more credible partners to us. That's why I really believe, especially for young generation, that it's very crucial that we open them the doors once the countries are really ready.
Mentioning the young generation, you also mentioned brain drain. Some experts also say, and I think they are to some point also right, they're saying young people of the region, they will be part of Europe anyway. So either their country will join the European Union or they simply will pack their suitcase and go in some northern, western European country to find study or work there. So the brain drain is a big problem, I think, for this.
It is a problem because young people, when they are leaving and if they don't have prospects or vision to come back to their countries, they make their countries very poor. So all the brains are going away and they don't manage to attract them back. And this is in fact happening quite a lot in countries as Bosnia and Herzegovina or Kosovo. You have a real big young generation of people that are leaving, searching jobs away, going studies. And there is no potential to develop countries back home. So we have, of course, a lot of challenges talking enlargement. It's not a very sexy topic for the politician. It's difficult to understand. But once again, this is the region that went 20 years ago through bloody wars. And these young people, they can know what is nationalism. They can know what means living in the war and have no prospects. And for them, we have to do better future. And I'm again strongly convinced that we are part of one continent. If we have close ties, then we can better address common challenges that we all share on this continent.
Looking at the region, there is, of course, a strong influence by European Union. People are looking towards the European Union, but there is also other forces which try to get influence. If we look some Saudi Arabian money influence in some countries, China, which want to include them in this Silk Road network, and Russia, which not only due to the alphabet in some countries try to get increased influence. Do you think it's a threat for Europe, this influence, or?
It is a reason of concern, and when you say that Western Balkan is in a way a polygon of different geopolitical interests, you see Arabs, Chinese, Americans, Russians, Turks, and so on. That can, of course, cause a lot of instabilities. Is also a lot of different, I would say, not only religious, but tensions on the region. That is our neighborhood. And this is in the absence of a strong European voice. In the last few years, European Union lost a lot of credibility when we speak about the enlargement. We ask countries such as North Macedonia, Albania, Kosovo, to deliver on reforms. They did so. But then it was on our side to deliver our promises, but we failed. And this was maybe historically a big political mistake from our side. So I think what is at stake today is really the confidence, the lack of trust. We need to rebuild trust between the countries of the region and the European Union, the trust in politics, the trust in relations, that we will be able again to work with each other.
You were mentioning this no, which was mainly by French President Macron, but also other countries to not open the negotiation with North Macedonia and Albania. I had the feeling that this no, the negative impact was because it was weakening the good forces in the countries and was, let's say, giving more space to the negative nationalist forces. Like we see now in Macedonia, again in the pre-election process, there is again a split between those which want to be pro-European, solve the problems, fight corruption, and those which are part of this clan system and they want to go, don't accept the name question, things like this. So you said strong European voice. So we made a big mistake, or we, but the European Union as such made a big mistake. How we can, let's say, now make the best out of it?
First step is very clear. The European Union has to deliver, I would say, rather earlier than later.
So earlier
in spring, March, I think latest in April, we have to have a decision to open accession negotiations with North Macedonia and Albania, because again, they delivered what we asked from them. And North Macedonia is paying a very high price, having early elections, technical government, because of a failure of someone else, Macron, as you mentioned before. And this is when I say it's a lack of trust in our policies on both sides. And I do hope that we will manage to convince as politicians our citizens what is at stake. It's not only about peace and stability in our region, but if we have a lot of new generation that is lost, that is traveling abroad because they have no source of well-being at their home states, then we cause in a long run difficulties to ourselves. And again, we are same continent.
These days, the European Commission was putting on the table this new methodology of how the negotiations should be driven. This was also a wish of Emmanuel Macron, to have new rules. So, what's your opinion on this?
Longly awaited new strategy that certainly needs to bring some fresh dynamism in the enlargement process. We face that things are not working with the speed we wanted. We felt that citizens don't feel opening, closing negotiations. They didn't understand, was nothing tangible. Politically, mood was changing, so there were challenges. So the new methodology, I think, brings some positives and some negatives. Positives in a way that there is a clear European perspective for the countries, hopefully clear, that at the end of the road, once they meet all the criteria and reforms, they will be part of the European Union, but again will be needed political willingness. Negatives, of course, that they will have a maybe much more difficult process as we had in the past, especially focusing on the rule of law, which is a crucial thing. We see in all our European countries that there is a undemocratic, I would say, way on the rise. From Hungary, Poland, we have democracy, fundamental rights, rule of law that is seriously jeopardized. So we have to focus on that in the Western Balkans. And at the same time, leave the door open when it comes to economical, social issues, that the integration is more tangible for the citizens of the region, even if the most complicated questions don't work, that they can still feel that they are going somehow further in the process. Whether that will work, we will have to see. There is certainly a willingness, or I would say better, an awareness that a lot is at stake if we lose Western Balkan and if other players step in and Europeans don't have voice there anymore, even though we are the biggest donors, that we can have a source of new, I wouldn't want to sound pessimistic, but a source of new instabilities in our neighborhood.
But this means, besides technicalities, it's more important to speak about infrastructure, how to create growth, how to, let's say, fight corruption, how to improve the parliament and democracy in the country, press freedom, chances for young people, which at the end also is this kind of negotiations. So you're an expert on some of those countries. You're also responsible for the relations with Serbia in the European Parliament, and also one of the persons who is writing the report on North Macedonia, and probably also good knowledge on all the other countries. Do you think, when will be the day when we will put new flags in front of the European Parliament saying we have new members?
I don't dare to have this wisdom to say the date. I wish to see it really as soon as possible. I know it's a long process, demanding process for the countries. But again, we need to have trust that at the end of this road we can have benefits on both sides. For that we need, I would say, a lot of wisdom, maybe a lot of courage, patience also, and trust between the politicians, and also to convince citizens that all these reforms that they are trying to pursue in the Western Balkans will change their life for better. It's not some homework for Brussels. At the end of the day, you said yourself, what are basic values of all of us, like human beings? We want to have decent job, we want to have access to education, we want to live, and we have all equal access to our European standards. And if you look at the young generation of citizens in the Western Balkan, they want to live European standards. They want to travel to Europe. They like our way of life. We should be proud of that, and we should try to work together.
I remember when I was young and, let's say, Yugoslavia fall apart, and there was so much hope, and we lost already this one generation. There is another young generation now, and they have still these dreams to say, we want to be equal part, not queuing for visas, having the same rights like other young people. But maybe, I think what we also need is some translation or ambassadors also in the European Union, that this is necessary that we start negotiations with the Western Balkans, because I have the feeling that our two countries can be a good ambassador also of the interest of the Western Balkans towards other European countries.
Yes, Austria and Slovenia have very good understanding of the region. I was also a rapporteur on visa liberalization for all of the countries of the Western Balkan, and I remember how tangible it was for citizens that before never managed to travel to understand European values. They saw it only on the screen. So we opened the borders, but by that we also opened the borders in their minds. You know, we should not build new walls, but rather somehow demolish them. This brings only to new wars or confrontations. I would say maybe just, you know, it's our responsibility as politicians, as someone who knows well the region, to help them, to support them on its way, because again, it brings stability to all of us, and we can be much stronger together. We have better understanding of the world and challenges that are around us, and I hope that the countries of the region will really not lose the momentum which is right now on the table, that we try to work harder in the future together.
So Tanja, thank you for coming here. Maybe I can ask you at the end a non-Balkan question. Is on the politics of your home country, because also we learned that there is coming to new elections.
Oh.
Maybe in one sentence.
In one sentence, we also have a lot of instabilities at my home politically. I do hope that we will get out of the situation as soon as possible. We are a small country of 2 million citizens. Sometimes this is a hurdle how to connect all the people that mostly know each other. But I do hope that we will get as soon as possible stable government for the Slovenia. We go also in the presidency of the EU next year.
True.
So it's important that we don't lose the time that is precious for our small economy and also for our citizens.
Okay, the election take place...
We don't know yet.
Okay.
We might have early elections, or there might be an attempt to form a new government. That means no elections.
Okay, so we will see.
So we will know in the next few weeks. It's a very turbulent and exciting time.
It's good, but if we want to know something, we will invite you again.
Okay.
Thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you for inviting.